And we are live on another heck dang episode of Arcanum Unbound, where we talk world building, we talk character creation, and we talk fantasy books. Maybe sci-fi one day, but right now it's fantasy books. I'm with Dave, as per usual, and we are discussing The Name of the Wind by Pat Rothfuss, which I'm very excited about. And
I'm glad you're excited about it.
I really, really like this book. Honestly, we'll come back to the synopsis. I promise. We always do the synopsis. But I really, really like The Name of the Wind. I was talking to someone who's unfortunately not here today as I'm recording this, in chat, to be clear. Still alive. He's in the Discord, which is going to be in the description of the video. We're also in chat right now, even though I think everybody's in it. But he was mentioning that he had some very serious issues with some of the characters, and I agree with him. There are flaws with this book, but I really, really enjoyed it nonetheless. But I'll try and give a quick synopsis of this one. Heavy spoilers coming up if anybody hasn't finished it yet, but that's the name of the whole game. This book focuses on our main character, Kvothe, which I have to continually remind myself is not pronounced Kvothe, because that's how I pronounced it the first time I read it through. But he starts off as one of the Edema Ra, which is a traveling group of troopers performing song, dance, plays, etc., whatever you have. They do travel town to town, they do their thing, and they run into someone named Abinthy, or Ben, as they call him later on. He is an arcanist at the university, and he teaches Kvothe everything that a beginner student at the university would need to know, like sympathy, small bits of magic, etc., mathematics, physics, etc. Nothing crazy, simple things, but very advanced for what a 12-year-old at the time. His father, Kvothe's father, is writing a song about the Kandrian, which leads to them being attacked by the Kandrian for singing the entirely wrong kind of songs. And this leads Kvothe to years upon years of homelessness and strife and struggle, to which he very slowly brings himself to the university, where Abinthy learned and told Kvothe to go to. And so he spent a lot of time at the university, progressively honing his craft, learning more and more, and then also kind of finding himself and how he fits into the world of no longer being an Edema Ra, with the sole intention of finding and killing the Kandrian. And he kind of loses that for a bit, but he does come back to it towards the end. Anything important that I missed there, Dave?
No, because it's a planned trilogy.
Yeah. There's the interesting part about this book is that it's a series of vignettes. So there's not a ton of back to back, it's a consistent story, but it is Kvothe in the present explaining his story to the chronicler, which I probably should have opened with actually. And the vignettes are Kvothe telling his stories and chronicler writing them all down. So you get bits and pieces chronologically of how Kvothe became the folk hero he is today and what chronicler believes he is now. And that's kind of one of the things that I like the most. But anyway, what'd you think of it, Dave?
I am obviously a little bit in the minority here. It's a well-written book.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good storytelling and world building. I just didn't really fall in love with the main character, which kind of hurts when it's a book mostly about one character. So,
That's fair.
I did not love it as much as you did, but I definitely understand why so many people do love it.
Mm-hmm. I do. I really love this book, and I totally understand the complaints, and I have some of them too. I share them with a lot of people. I don't know if Donut will listen to this in the future, but he's been in my chat a few times. We were discussing it while I was playing RimWorld the other day, and he was mentioning that he does not like how easily everything comes to Kvothe.
Yeah, it was really... We talked earlier in the last episode about like Geralt in The Witcher being a Superman of sorts. Like this takes it to the extreme in a fantasy novel.
I agree.
Like, this guy just can't lose, and so
every loss seems like a minor misstep.
This is only book one, so I mean, I'm sure he'll run into more challenging things down the line, but like, there wasn't a lot of suspense.
I agree. Like, because even towards the end, when he's dealing with the Dracus and things go wrong, in a matter of like 20 pages, not even, he fixes it. Except when everyone he loved was killed in front of him. Well, that's just it, Rizzy.
They weren't even killed in front of him because he wasn't even there. He came back to find them all dead.
Which is still dramatic.
I'm sure if he was there, he would have somehow magically destroyed everyone because he just kills everything. So,
like, I agree with the complaint because the first time I read it, I put it down at page like 110. My friend lent it to me, and she was like, "You need to read this. Like, you're gonna love this book." And I'm like, I don't really like it. I put it down. I stopped reading it. I didn't give a shit. And then she was like, "What did you stop at?" I'm like, "Oh, well, he's still learning from, or Ben just left or whatever." She's like, "Read the next fucking chapter." Like, and that's when shit hits the fan. And I'm like, "Oh, shit." Like, I think it would have, because it's not like he doesn't actually experience loss or failure. I think it's a method to the madness in the sense that he's telling his story as his own focus. Like, if you told your own story, like, you're not going to lean into all the bad parts unless you have to. And I don't think he does, because he's like, I win everything. He does have super plot armor, and like, that's absolutely it. Like, that's what gets me the most. Like, there's no failing. Like, even if he gets attacked or something goes wrong, like, it spins too well in his own favor. Despite that, I really enjoyed it.
Right, and I understand why people enjoyed it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it kind of took it out. It took me out of it a little bit, just because, well, here's the thing, too. Whenever you read a book, you know the good guy's going to win, for the most part, unless it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and even then, towards the end. Actually, no, they didn't. The good guy didn't even win. No. It wasn't even the bad guy won.
Nobody won.
Nobody wins. Everybody lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so it's just, but still, you want to see the challenge in a way. I don't know. It's just
good story comes with good conflict.
I'm rehashing what I already said, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I still think the book is good. It wasn't my favorite.
We're gonna, I'm gonna tweak our little notes a little bit because I was gonna talk about world building first, but we'll just go straight to Kvothe and keep talking about that.
You never sent me the doc for this one.
Yes, I did. I totally did, bruh.
I can't open it.
It's the second one, is it not? The second link I sent you?
You need to give me permission to view it.
Oh, I didn't send you the right link. Give me one sec. There's not a lot on here, if I'm going to be entirely honest. I have a lot that I want to kind of like quiz you with, but that should work a little better. But we'll keep talking about Kvothe, because we're clearly heated about this subject, which is good, and I enjoy it.
So, side note.
Yeah, hit me.
I first saw this author, Patrick Rothfuss, on an episode of Tabletop.
Yeah, he's big in doing that.
Yeah.
He also streams on Twitch, actually.
Really?
Yes, he does. I don't find it... If he ever stumbles across this, I'm sorry. But I don't find his streams super great. He just plays Minecraft, but that's just not for me. I don't know. I'm a little envious because he gets a big out, like a decent audience comparatively. But I mean, whatever. What are you gonna do? He wrote like a well-enjoyed book. And now he is like sowing his rewards, or reaping his rewards rather. So anyway, completely off topic. We'll keep talking about Kvothe though. I'm totally with you. Like, it's not like, if you think about it and you break it down a little bit, like, Kvothe does face a lot of hardships. Like, he was... It doesn't get played up enough, in my opinion. Like, the time he spends in... What's that first city where he's homeless?
Man.
I can't remember
For
because he
those
spent
that have
some.
not read this book, it is large, by the way.
It's like 722 pages. I finished it
Yeah.
like an hour and a half ago. But when he's spending his time homeless, he doesn't.
Tarbine?
Tarbine.
Yeah.
Tarbine is right.
Nope. Is that right?
Tarbine?
I think.
I think you're. Hang on. Everyone can hear the clicky clackies of me fucking
Yes, they can.
Googling to see if I'm correct on a book I just finished.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tarbine, big enough that you cannot walk from one end to the other in a single day. So he spends 3 years homeless there. And he, like, that goes, like, because he loses his entire family. Everybody knows, all of his friends. Don't at me, Twizzled. He lives in the forest for 6 months. Like, foraging and in a complete, like, PTSD shutdown of, like, just powering through as best he can. And then he ends up in Tarbine, and as soon as he gets into Tarbine, there's 2 items in the world that mean anything to him. It's logic and rhetoric. Is that what it's called? From Ben, the book? Rhetoric and logic?
Wait, for which part?
The book that Ben gave him. But regardless, it's the book from Ben that means the world to him, as well as his father's loot. And as soon as he gets into Tarbine, he's attacked, and they break his loot and beat the shit out of him. Like, it gets lost in everything because, like, that's, like, what, page, like, 200 of 700? Like, you're really not getting a ton of this. And there's always, like, conflict in each, like, vignette. But you always know that he's going to come out of this, like, nothing. Like, he glosses over the downfalls of Kvothe a lot. And from the intermissions, essentially, you can see that these things wore on Kvothe later in life. But they, like, in the moment are not really taking enough away from him for it to be satisfying for me. Although I still enjoy Kvothe as a character for the most part, because, like, he's deep. He's very deep in terms of a character. In 700 pages, I'd hope I get a very deep main character. He's, like, I like the idea that he's, like, very good at what he does. I just wish that, like, he would stop getting away with everything, no problem. But there was a study actually at, I'm gonna make sure I got it right. Yes, it takes me to another page. I know. Penn State. They did a study and they found that hard workers make better role models than geniuses. And I think that contributes to why Kvothe is, like, not disliked per se, but given so much grief comparatively. You got anything on the subject, Dave?
Honestly, not particularly with that.
Fair. That's kind of like, because this was my second read through of the book, just to be clear. I
don't remember. Sorry, I didn't remember him losing that other thing. I knew about the loot. Just
he sells
I didn't remember him losing.
He sells the book because he sells it for passage from Tarbine to the university. It's not Imre. Imre is the other side of the river, but there's 2 towns, like, beside each other.
Okay. No, I forgot that part. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, it kind of happens, like, very quickly. But yeah, it's like when he's, like, leaving Tarbine, that's how he gets out.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find where the university is. I think it's just the Imre and the Omethi River.
It's 2 miles west of Imra. Imra.
Imre? Yeah. Yeah. But like that's how he gets there, and then he asks Master Elodin is the master of the archives, I think. No, Elodin's the master namer. He asked the Master Lauren of the university to pick it up for him, and he sold the book for 2 talents, which I don't know how to quantify, but is a lot of money, apparently. But on the receipt he gave back to the pawn shop owner was 2 iron pennies. So yeah, he swindled the guy there. Again, plot armor, but no, I still find him a little frustrating for being infallible, or relatively infallible. Like, though I do love like all the like he's a folk hero, so I kind of get it. Where it's like, okay, like that's why the chronicler came to tell a story, and that's why Bast led the chronicler to Kvothe. Like, he's trying to bring him back to his former glory, because like present Kvothe is like, they said he's about 30, I think. Not big, like he's not decrepit, but he's like old, his time has passed, and things are not going as great, according to Bast. But yeah, anyway, that's my big long spiel about Kvothe. Anything you'd like to add, Dave? Give you a chance to breathe and talk. Bast Hive.
Sorry.
Busy.
No, that's fine. As far as like the chronicler goes, I just constantly was wondering like how much of it he was like. It's one of those things where I would assume he's trying to be as accurate as possible if he's a historian.
Yeah.
But he's only getting the viewpoint from the one person, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, in hindsight, if there's any way that he would ever, you know, be able to verify the kinds of things that are being told. Because it seems like, that's one of the issues, is that it's like, when somebody's telling you their autobiography, like, how much do you necessarily believe from their point of view and how they view things, and how much of it is actually accurate?
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's why I think like he's got so much plot armor, is because it's Kvothe telling the story about himself. So like and maybe I'm getting too deep with it, but I feel like because of that, he leaves out a lot of like the very negative details. Like, there's minor missteps here and there, but like most of the time he's like this big grander hero, like he's got everything going for him, like,
which is a little bit interesting, seeing as now he's hiding in an inn.
Yeah, he is a story spinner, Rizzy. I agree. I absolutely agree. But
I mean, like, if this is a guy that's, you know, one of the most talented wizards or whatever of all time, why is he still hiding in an inn now? I don't know.
Rizzy says he's telling the best version of the story. And I think that's what I kind of came...
But is it the most honest version of the story?
Well, that's just it. Like, it doesn't... He said he's a good liar in the book. He says it outright that he's a good liar. So, not his favorite trait, but he said he's a good liar. I don't think it's the most honest version. I think there's more to it. Like, if you were to go to Ambrose and get the worst version of the story of their interactions, then you're going to get no good parts to it, in contrast. But that's kind of just the downfall of the point of view, I guess. Like, I think we'll also learn why he's hiding in the inn later, because it's not that far in the future. Bast says that he's met Denna, and Chronicler says that Kvothe is not that far separated from like the events of the story. And I have a feeling that like in the Doors of Stone, it's really going to tie in the present with the stories themselves, and at a certain point they're going to fully intersect, and that'll be the conclusion of the series. That's my opinion. That's what I'm guessing at. Like, that's... Book it. I don't care. If I get it right, holy shit, I'm going to freak out. But I'm not making like this bold, crazy assumption. I feel like it's a reasonable thing to kind of conclude on. But Um, anything else you want to say on Kvothe?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. How do you think Rothfuss built the world? What gave you the impression, or like what brought you into the world that Rothfuss built?
He is great with adjectives.
True.
Everything that he writes, like he's detail oriented, and I really felt that the way that he describes things and the way that he builds his worlds were all fantastic. Like I didn't really have any complaints with that. I am somebody that likes descriptive narrative.
Yep.
And I thought that was easily my favorite part of the book, was just the way that he wove everything together like that.
Yeah, I agree. It was like, I have a few different pieces in my notes, but like that kind of breaks down everything that I've got. Like you have like long form side stories and writing that kind of comes with things. Like you get stories from Scarpy, you get stories from Trappist, and they both work the world into the story and build on like religion, and you have like all these like little details that kind of come with everywhere that like Kvothe interacts with. Like the Aeolian, I think you say it. That's how you pronounce it. But there's like history and like a structure of how things work, because this existed before Kvothe got there, long before Kvothe got there. And so with that, you get like these nice little pieces that kind of let you be like, whoa, this place exists when Kvothe's not there. Where he's even asking Diok, like when, I think that's his name, the doorman of the Aeolian, like, hey, look, like, has Jenna been here? Like, has the girl I'm looking for been here? And it's like, oh no. And then he does it again. He's like, oh yeah, she's been here. Like, go, like she's waiting for you, or like, oh, someone else is waiting for you. Like, things are happening outside of Kvothe, and you kind of get that in a lot of different ways, which is kind of nice. One thing I did find also was the small, consistent pieces, which is not something I feel like we get a lot in world building, but I think it helps a ton. Like, can you think of any consistent pieces of like that little things that come up consistently that are like, oh, that's how this world works. That's what happens in this world. If not, I have one to kind of get you started.
Off the top of my head now, so go for it.
Okay. Well, like a span. A week is a span. Or, I had a whole bunch. All the, like, the little sayings they have, the little bits of Siyaru, like the other language that they speak. There's a couple other languages. Like, I have a feeling this world is built unbelievably far prior to the book existing.
He wrote this for like 14 years or something, so...
Jesus.
Like, I mean, he was writing it, and then, like, he edited it together. Like, he's been building this entire world for, like, 15 plus years, I think. So... Yeah. It's one of those things where you can tell that his attention to detail is high, and then he obviously probably has plans for something, or if not, like... Maybe he did, and so... But you don't even necessarily need to know all those little things, but...
Yeah, but, like, they're there, and they exist, and, like, it helps reinforce all of these things. Like, all these little things that kind of come together, and it's like... They just kind of add piece by piece. Like, you're not building a big base at any point here. You're just, like, very slowly adding little bit, and by little bit, by little bit, by little bit, and you're going to get this huge... vast thing that you kind of put together on your own, or the world like is brought together by those things. Did you notice anything about the magics? I know that's very vague, but like, yes. Did you notice the contrast of the magic?
Something that I did like was that it seems as though the magic's fairly consistent in this. Mm-hmm. And that it's just a learned thing where, at least from what we can tell, that it's its own science of sorts. And, that's something I appreciate, is that it's not just like somebody just like magically has some sort of more talent than other people. Like, some people are obviously better at certain things or whatnot, but like this guy's just good at everything. But it felt more like magic was something that was just inherent to a lot of different things, and that people could just basically learn it in the same way that they learn like other kinds of maths and science and things like that. And I thought that that's kind of a cool thing in a fantasy book, because so many times you'll just get books where like some guy's just super powerful and you're like, why? And they're like, I don't know.
Yep, and I like that. And like Rizzy says, like kind of the same thing. The magic system is interesting. It has a purpose. It still has a mystery though, which is like good because he's learning it. And like if you're getting it from his point of view and how he learned it, like you should kind of get it like that. But the nice part is like you get two different kinds of magic. And I'm taking the terminology from Brandon Sanderson's like lectures. Excuse me, you get hard magic and you get soft magic. Hard magic is going to be like your sympathy and like when he's doing work in the fishery and he's like creating things, like he's like using the symbol, I can't remember what they're called, the symbols to create like little machines. And then you also get like, oh, now you create a bond with the wick of a candle to like, and a fire behind you to light the wick without moving it, you know, like. But then you also get soft magic.
Was that the sympathy lamp thing?
The sympathy lamp, I think sympathy is the actual. I think that's the like putting sigils and stuff on things, and so it creates the lamp based on like what you have written on the metal essentially. And then there's also the what's it called, like where he splits his mind and he does those competitions in class where it's like, oh, you what's it called, you try to light their candle while you light theirs, or while you protect your own at the same time, which is structured and formal and has rules.
Yeah.
And then you get soft magic, which is naming things, which does not happen as much as you would imagine in a book called The Name of the Wind. When like you call the name of the wind, you basically summon wind to do something. And so basically, like with the soft magic, it's this wondrous thing. It's super powerful. There's very, very vague rules. Like Elodin at the very end of the book gives very vague understanding of like, oh, it's something you don't know, but you experience it. And it's powerful, but it does come at a cost. Like you find that Elodin, they call him half cracked, like is not fully within his facilities because of that. Like knowing all the names of things takes a lot of energy and time, and it takes a lot of weight from a person's like well-being. And so I think like that's not really given to you specifically, but like all the little parts kind of add up to that. And I think that's something I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, I liked one thing I liked, again, this is kind of an aside, but about Elodin is he was somebody in similar vein to Kvothe, who was like at the university when he was like 14 or whatever. So yeah. You know, a lot of times when you read a story about somebody that's just like amazing and great, and you know, just like, oh, this is like the youngest guy to do this or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, sure that can happen, but at the same time, like, it's nice to see somebody else in the same vein that like you can kind of bounce your character off of and compare it to in certain ways.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I like too, where it's like, okay, like this may be like why Kvothe is at an inn right now. Like it may be a glimpse towards the future. Like he may be slowly going off the deep end. But I mean, I'm trying not to say too much because I have read The Wise Man's Fear already. Excuse me, but we will be reading it again. And we will be reading The Doors of Stone. I believe it's called the third book in the trilogy because I really like them. And you have not hit me with any recommendations. So I get to choose, baby.
The Doors of Stone is not out yet, right?
No, August. August 2020, I believe. Do you have anything else to say about world building? If not, that's okay. I've got another little chunk for us.
Building. No, not really.
Okay. I think the characters also... This is not in my notes by any means, but I think the characters kind of add into the world. Like, it helps that Denna is all very consistently in different places, and she brings back like little bits of information. And the map is extensive and used extensively, which is nice. Like, you're not shoehorned into one little place. And that'll be more apparent in the second book, but I won't say much more. But I mean, like, they spend time in Tarbi, and they spend time in Imre. They spend time at the university. They move north, I think it is, to when they fight the Drakis. Or not fight the Drakis, but handle the Drakis. But regardless.
The relationship with Denna is something kind of interesting in that...
I think...
obviously, like, now he's living alone, so...
Yeah.
I am kind of curious to see...
Oh, and, like, the one thing I find really interesting is that Bast knows Denna. So she's still around. Hopefully still around. I don't need, like, a conclusion where it's like, oh, she's passed. That'll kill me. That'll hurt me so much. Because he's so, like, adorably head over heels for her. Like, it's so lame, but I find it cute. But yeah, no, Denna's a character I really enjoy, actually. Like, especially because it's, like, it's very, like, on the nose for, like, how you kind of learn to have, like, your first, like, romantic interactions as a teenager, because he's 16 through the book, so it's like, oh, he's awkward and he's lame, but they're still trying to spend all this time together, and everyone's like, she's into you. He's like, no, there's no way. Like, as an aside, like, I just find that little, like, tidbit additionally kind of funny.
Yeah, I was glad that I mean, like, of all the things that they did not make him good at, it was relationship stuff, which I think is something a lot of people that, you know, maybe excel at one thing or are young and get into situations where, you know, they're often seemingly a little in over their head, you know, but, like, they still get through because they're just talented. Like, relationships are not something that a lot of people are always just talented at, so it makes sense.
They're hard,
like,
man. They're hard.
Yeah.
And, like, especially when you're learning them, like, it's like, okay, it's very reminiscent of, like, oh, the dumb teenage boy thing, and it's like, okay. Like, I want to say that it's like, it was so bad, he's still included it in the story because of just how bad it was. Like, from Kvothe's point of view. Anything
I would imagine, too, for a guy like him who's always good at everything, then probably those things that he's not good at are things that stick out to him more in his head.
Yeah,
it's like we all have those moments in life where we're like, man, I was a total idiot, and then everybody else is like, I don't even remember that, but it, like, sticks with you
because you made such a grave error. Not Rizzy, though. Apparently, he's infallible, but he's also 40, so he's basically a boomer. Never made a poor decision.
I mean, he decided to become a Canucks fan, so what kind of life decision?
I don't think you decided that. Did you decide that? I don't want to. Sorry, I'm recording. I don't want to, like, diverge too much. Sorry, Rizzy. It was thrust upon me. Okay, fair. On to, like, my little, like, storytelling section. What do you think made this a good story? Even though you didn't like it, what do you think?
The story's fine. I just didn't really care for the main character as much
as
the other people, I guess. I think the story is good because not only is it in depth and I think that you get a lot of different little backstory stuff, you know, and whatnot, but I think it leaves you wanting more in the end, which is always a sign of a good story because, like, I mean, I know it's a planned trilogy and whatnot, so of course there's going to be more, but I'm also invested and interested to see what happens. Like, even if it wasn't my favorite, like, I'll probably still end up, you know, reading the next one somewhere down the line. So
I'm going to make you.
Of course. So
anyway,
I think that's always. I think that, like, what you know, I don't know that there's much more you can say about a great story other than, like, you liked it enough to either want to read it again or to want to continue knowing what's happening to these characters.
Yeah.
And so even if I didn't love the main character, like, there are other characters in the book that I am curious to see what goes on with them or how it plays off of this. And also, I am actually fascinated to know what's going on with the inn and things down the line with that. So
yeah, and how this all kind of comes together. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I found I like, and this is again stolen from the Sanderson lectures, or not stolen, but, like, this is what he kind of, like, uses as a terminology. It's like promises. They make, like, Rothfuss makes promises, and so when he gives you a promise, that's how the book plays out. He's like, I'm gonna kill the Kandrian, and when it's like there was any remote chance of the Kandrian being like within Kvothe's like vicinity, he's like, I'm gone immediately. Like, he's going. And he's bought a horse. He's took out this huge loan with what's her name? The loan shark's name. The one he keeps taking. He took loans from a couple times to pay for tuition.
Yeah,
but I remember what she looks like. I remember it's like no. Siaru is the language.
No. What am I thinking of?
I know there's like for love interests. There's Denna, the main one. There's Mola. There's Fella, and then there's the fourth one, which is. I don't think Mola's a love interest, actually, now that I think about it. But there's the fourth one, which is the loan shark. But regardless, he takes out a huge loan from her, and he goes. He's gone. He's heading north to find the Kandrian, whatever he can. And he finds his, like, despite not committing to the promise, he makes progress towards it. He finds, like, the information he's looking for. He doesn't find the vase itself and, like, the artifact, but he finds someone to tell him what was on it, and it's like that's why the Kandrian came here and killed them and did what they did. And like even on a minor scale, he's like, Ben basically tells you that's like, hey, like you're gonna do great at the university. Lo and behold, that's exactly what he ends up doing. He goes to the university like they said. So it's like it's to a degree.
Her name was Debbie.
Debbie, right. I remember the inn girl who told him, like Nella, the one who told him about all the stuff, like the vase, but I couldn't remember Devi. But yeah, like even on a minor scale, he commits to his promises and they follow through on those promises. And that's what I like the most about this story. Like it's very good base storytelling.
Yeah.
That's about it that I've got for like the real meat of the book. Unless there's something you want to talk about.
No, not really. I mean, like, it's obviously a little bit long. I think, maybe that's... I mean, the thing is, I really enjoyed the way that he writes, so I guess it fell shorter than it was, but
yeah,
it is definitely a commitment. So,
I agree. But we'll move to the conclusion. Well, we'll do our questions first. From El Rizzi on Discord. Why is the name of the wind so good? But I mean, like, we kind of discussed that already. I just wanted to include that because El Rizzi asked us a question and nobody's given me questions on this show. So I felt the need to be like, hey, you can send us questions beforehand and we'll answer them on the show. That's just so everybody knows. Just a heads up.
I think it's good. Is it so good?
Ooh. It does have shortcomings. I agree with you that it does have shortcomings. I really, really like this book regardless, but it does have shortcomings. Would you recommend the book?
Yeah, I think that I would recommend this book based on the writing style. And if somebody were to ask me if I liked it, I would say yes. I would just say that it's not necessarily my favorite, but I think that it's worth reading if you like the genre. And I think it's definitely worth reading if you just like the descriptive way that he puts things together. So
yeah. It is like a quintessential like fantasy book. I'm also like very much looking forward to rereading The Wise Man's Sphere and excited for the release of Doors of Stone. Are you, by any chance, or are you just kind of like meh on it?
I am intrigued to see if the further development of the character makes me like him more.
Fair. That's about it for The Name of the Wind by Pat Rothfuss.
I have a great 1-star review for this one though.
Hit me.
Okay, because I just love that this person decided to rate it 1 star and then give this review. Title of the review: My dad died before I could read book 3. 1 star. I'm very sad today. My dad just died, and he was the one who got me to start reading this series. He loved these books, and all he could talk about was when book 3 was coming out. He lived for the hope of reading the conclusion to the series. He will never have that opportunity. When book 3 does come out, I will not read it. and would feel guilty reading it.
Oh,
My father
no.
would not.
Why is that a 1 star, though?
So 1 star for this book because their dad died.
That's so rough. Like, my sympathy, man. Like, I get it. But, like, holy shit. Like, that's not the book's fault. Holy fuck.
This book killed somebody, is what I take from that. So...
Yeah, the book did it. The book did it. That's so brutally, so scathing. Even though it wasn't anybody's fault. Oh my god. Anyway, that's it for The Name of the Wind. But next month, or I guess this month, considering it's March 16th, we are reading A Little Bit of Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. I am also looking for... Excuse me, I'm always looking for recommendations for books. If you want us to do something on the show, you let us know. I have to plan my next 4 months as it is. So if anybody wants...
I don't think you actually posted that in the Discord, did you?
That we're looking for recommendations?
Oh, wait, no, you did. There it is. Sorry,
I did. No, that I made sure of. So if anybody has recommendations for what you want us to read and discuss and have questions for, anything, doesn't matter. As long as it's fantasy, I'll throw it in there somewhere. Like, I do 4 months at a time, just to keep my life a little simpler so I don't have to plan out 12 books for a year. But we will be doing, eventually, The Wise Man's Sphere and then a few other ones. But this month is a Joe Abercrombie book. It's dark, it's gritty, it's fun. I love him. We'll be doing that in March. Even though it's March 16th, we'll record early April, hopefully. But yeah, that's about it for selling myself out. You can find me at RYT Malfunction, Rit Malfunction on Instagram, Discord, Twitch, Twitter. Dave is LA Kinks Dave. If you ever want to call him old, he's probably not going to respond to you, but he deserves it, so it's okay. And I think that is it for our show. Thank you for listening to Arcanum Unbound. This is episode 6 for sure.
I love you all.
I love everybody too. I love everybody. Thank you so much.